Это слишком далеко.
Там заново представить можешь?
Давай.
Сюда. Не. Можно уже говорить, потому что там слышно. Сейчас, подожди. Слышно, коллеги? Не слышно. Да, пожалуйста. Или не слышно?
Online.
Да, все слышно.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say that I have to introduce Ruzana again because Ruzana Pskhu is the director, the head of the Vsevolod and she has been working on the translator of his work, the author of the unique and only translation into Russian of Vedārthasaṃgraha by Rāmānuja. Today she is going to speak about Rāmānuja's controversy with Mīmāṃsā in Vedārthasaṃgraha and Śrībhāṣya.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will talk in English, just now it's clear. Okay.
Can you hear this mic? Is it working? Yeah. Ну, запустили демонстрацию экрана. Это участники. Нет, будем что-то.
Ну ладно. So we will talk about some very interesting polemics between Mīmāṃsā and Vsevolod. But my main task is not only to talk about something that probably already known to everybody who have read Vedārthasaṃgraha or Śrībhāṣya, or knows Rāmānuja's idea and his activity. But I want to transfer this local polemics, argumentation between Mīmāṃsā and Rāmānuja into universal philosophical sphere, and to reflect, to think what concretely these polemics mean. Everybody who is seated here or listening to me from the philosophical point of view. So what Rāmānuja can give personally to you as a personality, as a human being, etc. But of course, we must start with very serious ideological things, because we should rely on the text and to reconstruct these polemics, and then at the end we will remember some other names from European philosophy in particular, and then we will result this speech with the philosophical impact. So Purva Mīmāṃsā or Mīmāṃsā and Vedanta Uttara Mīmāṃsā can be considered as a proper Vedic darshanas, as we know. So systems of interpretation of Vedic texts, of which the first Mīmāṃsā developed the ritualistic side of Vedic culture, and the second its speculative or philosophical side, Upanishads. Mīmāṃsā is an an earlier system of thought, not so much chronologically, logically. The main object of Purva research is, so Mīmāṃsā can be translated as research, and the main object was the concept of dharma. In the text of Shruti, its reads themselves, the term Mīmāṃsā occurs as a designation of doubt and discussion of views on the rules of ritual. So it's just introduction, probably just formal. And it is ritual that remains the central problem for Mīmāṃsā, while for Vedanta, the main object state the sense or the ontological problems. Or we can say the cognition of existence as a, Brahman. From the text of the Mīmāṃsā Sutra, only those sutras that represent a theoretical introduction to the ritualistic material, so those that address the question of the sources of knowledge and the truth of the Vedas, have philosophical significance. And the normative commentary on the sutras of Mīmāṃsā was compiled by Shavaraswamin. A detailed commentary was written to his Mīmāṃsā Śrībhāṣya by Prabhakara. And so he was the founder of one of the Mīmāṃsā schools. And with Prabhakarin, Rāmānuja has some argumentational activity in Vedārthasaṃgraha. So it was a Prabhakara school represented in Rāmānuja's text. And as we know, unlike Vedanta, Mīmāṃsā paid very significant attention to the sources of knowledge. Since the aim of Mīmāṃsā was to establish the nature of dharma, which has no static material existence and cannot be comprehended through the senses, it is natural for Mīmāṃsā to turn to the problem of the sources of knowledge and the stages of the Vedas. All No, I have only 3 slides. Be careful. There is no slide. There is no time. It's not time yet. No, I have this one. Or this is better. Okay. So all sources of knowledge that presupposes perception, inference, comparison, assumption, and others cannot be used in established. I will put it up. Okay. Establishing the nature of dharma. The source of dharma knowledge can only be the Vedas, which are characterized as a set of prescriptions in an imperative form that encourage people to work, and interpretations that demonstrate how such activities will lead to good results. Those parts of the Vedas that are not related to the ritual are not useful. The text is authoritative insofar as it helps the individual to act, and the words can be spoken by a person or belong to the Vedas. The first is true if the author is trusted. The second are true in themselves. Prabhakara believed that verbal knowledge of non-Vedic origin is by nature derivational. Words are used to denote phenomena about which it's impossible to gain knowledge with the help of other means of cognition. So the Vedas are eternal because they constitute word eternal. The connection between a word and its meaning is natural and is not the result of the agreement. Where there is a connection between a word and its meaning, it is directly recognizable. If someone does not realize it when they hear the word for the first time, then they are not make the connection non-existent. his Vedārthasaṃgraha and see that Vedārthasaṃgraha, presumably the first work of Rāmānuja, and reflects the process of formation of Vsevolod, which took place during its opposition to other philosophical systems, Advaita Vedanta, Bheda and Mīmāṃsā. And the text of this treatise contains three sections. The first one, introduction, very long, very short. It outlines the main ideas of the treatise. The second one, criticism of opponents. And we should notice that Rāmānuja put this polemic at the Vedārthasaṃgraha, not in where destroys other Vedantic teachings. And in this third section, in a discussion with Mīmāṃsā, he builds a polemic in a different way. So he reflects. So in the second part, he actively, fight, and the third part, he reflects Mīmāṃsā's possible arguments against his provisions already from a general Vedantic position. His idea that he believed that if one can say of the Shruti, with the Shruti, then one cannot agree with the statement that the text of the Shruti have only prescriptive significance and their description is insignificant. If Mīmāṃsā emphasizes prescriptions or vidhi, then Rāmānuja emphasizes explanations or arthavas. It should be noted that Rāmānuja considered both Mīmāṃsā as a single teaching. So, and the we see that according to Prabhakara, the injunctions to perform sacrifice to those who wish to reach heaven, Svarga, testify to the eternity of the know neither the means of reaching heaven nor the very consequence, which is heaven. But nevertheless, the prescription is reasonable, since it points to an object disguised, suggests mean sacrifice, and mentions auxiliary actions. The deeds themselves bear fruit without any divine intervention. After the action is performed, a new previously unknown state appears, which precedes the result of the action. The link between the activity and the result is called apurva. So it is the designation of an invisible force considered as an imperceptible state preceding the result, or as a state after the action. That is, it is a kind of force that appears as a result of performing a certain action and which leads to the achievement of a result. Prabhakara believed that the motive for fulfilling the prescription should not be fruit, but a completely disinterested attitude but the main thing remains the individual itself. So in general, the polemic of Rāmānuja and the follower Prakara is the most interesting part of the treatise. As a source of the doctrines of his opponent, Rāmānuja used the Prakara Panchika, commentary on the main work of Prakara, compiled by his outstanding follower Shalikanatha Mishra, 10th century, which is a brief guide to the Prakara system, and the passage of the text in which the discussion with Prakara is presented. So it's characterized by a sharp change of style. The dialogue was a shift in the general topic to this of the relation of Brahman, the world and South, and the liberation of the South, to the problem of philosophical ends. So we can recognize three topics in Vedārthasaṃgraha related to such polemics in Rāmānuja, but I present only one. So just to show how it was in the past. That is presented with prescription explanations, formulas. It's a sort of knowledge extent that indicate actions that need to be performed. The semantic power of language cannot be known and action. That sometimes we perform something and then we understand after the meaning of what sentence is comprehended only after their action is seen. This is how language acquisition occurs in childhood. Since this action originates in the idea of a thing to be done, it follows that the and it is not language to imperative sentences that prompt action. After all, the signifying power of speech is quite easy to understand in the case of already established things. This is evident in the following example. A certain person sends another to inform Devadatta that the stuff is or danda is in the house, but does not say it, but shows it with a gesture. So give me this. Devadatta's neighbor sees this, goes with the messenger to the house, and hears him tell Devadatta that this danda is in the house. Initially, the neighbor did not know the position was object accompanied by pointing at them with the finger is based on a certain denotative form, which is limited only to this object since words are applied only to them and the child does not know anyone who would assign them a certain meaning. Therefore, it is groundless to assert that words have meaning only in the case of actions that need to be performed. All words or in the Upanishads denote Brahman, the cause of the world and center of all kinds of perfection. And here I noticed that, of course, Rāmānuja, during his polemics, he put argumentation, but he very invisible and sometimes rudely tried to promote his main idea that Brahman is a source of word, you should love him, etc. And you the connection with the logic of Mīmāṃsā and the logic of Vishishtadvaita in Rāmānuja. There is a logical connection. Rāmānuja put these objects these themes of discussion as voluntary, his choice of his will, his desire to talk about that and to put in these polemics. And it's very, very interesting to see how the believing person who believes in God, who loves God, and he cannot reject these his feelings outside or beyond the very boring logical polemics. So if we assume that words have only prescriptive meaning, then due to the fact that the thing serves as a reward of an action, words in the Upanishads will denote these things. Thus, in exegetical text, the word svarga means the place where there is no suffering or pain. The text, he knows Brahman attains the highest, teaches that attainment of Brahman as a reward for his veneration is equivalent to the statement. He has to attain the highest should know Brahman. This means that it is necessary to determine the true form and properties of Brahman, since this serves the purpose of action. Thus, all the objects contained in mantra and bhagavats are established because they on the basis of action, the purpose of that action. What is the purpose of action? If the purpose of the action is what the action is being performed for, then it is necessary to determine what is the object implied by the action, as the action is meant human activity. If in this case the goal of the action is the desired thing for which a person begins an activity, then the goal or the object of the action coincides with the thing desired by a person. So that's about that. But me, it was for me very interesting what Rāmānuja wants. So why he involved Mīmāṃsā in his text. There is no controversy. So Mīmāṃsā was not, what's the name? Concluding rivals as Advaita or Bheda variants. So, and it's not opponent of Vishishtadvaita because Mīmāṃsā deals with different all words in the world. In the case of a supporter of Prabhupada or follower claims that the word is significant only and exclusively in the content and context of action, it's found that the Vedas do not contain any definition of Brahman, because Brahman is not up to the action tribe. We get to anything with me, and therefore think of Brahman is the way time. In contrast to this, Rāmānuja believes that the word is meaningful outside of practical activity. Words have meaning to be meaningful in itself. The power of designation is inherent in him and is as inherent in fire. It should not be confused with inference knowledge. This is another source of knowledge. And everyday language originates in the Vedic language. The original meaning of all words indicates the true nature of God. And the last one, and the most important for Vishishtadvaita, is that the way to comprehend God is bhakti. Love as a certain kind of knowledge, because knowledge about love is love itself. The concept of love or bhakti in philosophical meaning. If we compare his polemics and his ideas with Western European philosophy, for example, and the first who presented in the mind, who appears in the mind, it's philosophy of Immanuel Kant and his moral categorical imperative. So the Mīmāṃsā discussion with Rāmānuja is comparable to the Kantian formulation of the religion of faith and in God in the light of the moral categorical imperative. In an ontological way, we cannot say anything positive about either God as if he believes. In regards, Rāmānuja introduces such an area as feeling and faith and love to God, or meditated love to God, intellectual, amor intelectualis. So into the field of philosophical opposition between reason and action. And that is his main decision to transfer the responsibility for God's existence to man himself. In other words,
Yeah, we would like to thank Ruzana for speech.
Yes, it's very, I like provocation.
And yeah, and it's very important to mention, as I have already mentioned before, that she's the first, not the first or second, but the unique Russian translator of Rāmānuja's of Rāmānuja's works. And yeah, maybe in a hidden way, she feels the Rāmānuja's teachings in a special way. This is why she works on that. But we have a question.
Yes, again, rather a remark than a question. Thank you very much. But you see, I have another answer to the Rāmānuja's posed by you and by Rāmānuja via you question what to do with emotions. And it is the Abhinavagupta's answer. We have to practice sublime arts as the scope of the domain of emotions and make all our life a theatrical performance.
Unfortunately, feelings are not, undomestical dogs or animals. So if we have feeling of love, we have this feeling complete person. It's not all. He's not convenient for me. I will not love him. So if love is, and it's fact, and Rāmānuja says not about feeling he loves God. What have I do with my love to God? And I read Upanishad, I read sacred text, I read Agamas, etc. And in my mind, there is an image of Vishnu, Narayana, etc. And I love him. He said, that's a question. And if we take Spinoza's, if you have an affection, you can change the nature of affection. You cannot delete the power of affection. But if it was tamas affection, you can make this affection. That's the only possibility what you can do with your feelings and your affections emotions, etc. And I try to paraphrase Rāmānuja's position in order of just in pure philosophical that they have from European philosophy. Of course, probably if he listened to me, he said, "What a crazy woman." But I try to understand him as if he were our contemporary. What is Rāmānuja? Yes. So his apurva and karma in a whole, in the more broad context. Rāmānuja says that apurva and karmic, some fruits can be